Now please welcome Sarah Friar, the Chief Financial Officer of Square.
Hello, everyone. First, huge thank you to the Money 2020 team for a terrific conference and for inviting us here to talk through the story of Square. It's an absolute delight. So it's a little hard for me to see out there, but could I just see a little bit my audience? Show of hands, which of you have actually experienced Square in the wild, taken a payment on a Square register? Oh, that's a nice show of hands. Okay, good. So one of our core values as a company is what we call show, don't tell. So rather than telling you about it, we would always rather that you experience it and feel it. And it's really exciting to see probably 90% of the audience putting their hand up there. So I'm going to begin by telling you a little bit the story of Square and then clearly where we're headed. So our mission, make commerce easy. It's a bold one, it's a big one. It gives us plenty of runway to go talk to sellers, to buyers, to talk on a global platform. But it's absolutely all about easy, simple. How do we just make the payment fade into the background and give you that time back as a merchant to really think about your business? So let me start at the beginning. You may not recognize what this is, but it is a glass balloon faucet made by our co-founder, Jim McKelvey. So our co-founders are Jim and Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter. And Jim, as well as being an amazing technologist, is also clearly a phenomenal artist. But he's also a merchant, a small business, in fact. And so this beautiful faucet, they're actually relatively expensive. They cost a couple of $1,000s. And so he had that moment where a customer walked into his store and she wanted to buy 2 of these. So he was literally going to make $3,000 to $4,000. But unfortunately, she didn't have that sort of cash in her wallet. She also didn't have a checkbook with her, and Jim didn't accept credit cards because he'd been turned down. He was a brand new business, he had no credit history, and he was really just overwhelmed by what it meant to have to get a credit card processing machine. And so he lost that business. And for those of you out there that are entrepreneurs or even just a CFO like me, lost business is not a good idea. It is not a good feeling. And for a small business, $3,000 to $4,000 is rent, or it's paying health care for your employee. It is a serious amount to lose. And so with that, he got on the phone with Jack, one of these, and said, we have, sitting here at our ear, more CPU than probably of a mainframe 30 years ago. Why can't we do something to make a credit card acceptance easy and simple? And so with that, they began with a simple premise, this little piece of hardware that drops into the microphone jack. And with that, you are in effect anyone is able to accept credit card payments at any time. And this was revolutionary, believe it or not. It sounds simple today, but it absolutely took the world by storm, starting back about 4 years ago. And as a company, you'll see a lot of what we talk about is simple. We want to make commerce easy. We don't want you to have to think about it at all. And so we get our merchants signed up in 3 minutes or less, and they can start taking payments immediately. So that was our small start about 4 years ago. And so today, Square has successfully shipped to over 4.5 million customers. We process it's actually a good step forward from 15 billion annualized. We are doubling about every 9-ish months. And we're absolutely starting to see ourselves having an impact in the world. So when we talk to, first for our seller side of the counter, we talk about starting your business. So for those first entrepreneurs who have that moment where they know they want to get going on a business, they're not trying to think about payments. Payments is just merely the thing that ultimately pays the bills. But they can start their business using Square and using the Square Register application. We also help them run their business. We all know the importance of those analytical tools that actually tell us what our business is doing. It's the sort of thing that big businesses take for granted, but small businesses never had. So we put that into their wallet too, or into their phone too. And then helping them grow their business. And I'm going to take you on a journey of how we think about growing their business. But we're seeing this momentum from true mobile sellers, so folks like maybe your cab driver here to the area, all the way through to true bricks and mortar locations. So Molly Moon's is a great example. 5 locations and starting to add 2 more on a national basis. So let me start back a little. So I don't know if you recognize this. I'm sure you do. So here's what merchants face today, or sellers face today. So kind of nasty hardware. It usually involves some form of multi-year contract, an upfront payment. It involves a credit check. It involves all the things that Jim McKelvey was put off by and wasn't able to get. And so we wanted to reimagine this and reinvent this. And so with that, we brought Square Register. Square Register is a piece of software you download it onto your mobile device. So it could be your phone, or it could be the larger real estate of a tablet. We give you free hardware that you can buy in 40,000 locations around the US, not just said buy, but we will rebate you the $10 it costs. So it is free. So free hardware, free software. We give you free analytics, all for the cost of 2.75%. So one simple price. And I know my good friends from American Express, I can see their logo up here, are coming up to talk. But often the response I get from a merchant when I talk to them about it is, even for American Express cards? And we say, yes, one simple price. We give you a profile in Square Directory so that people can find your business. And we ultimately just want to make commerce easy, bring more business to our sellers. And it's a really magical moment when you start talking to them about what it's meant to get going on Square. Here's a view of the analytics dashboard. So I'll tell you a little bit of a story. We had a merchant in Square a few weeks ago. She started her own business. It's called Elite Audio in Cafe. It's in San Francisco. It's a cafe, so I can go get coffee and so on. But they also sell really high-end audio gear, the stuff that you have to be an absolute die-hard musician to really get into. But she put the 2 things together. And she had this very cool story about her business. So she knew that she sold out of croissants every single day. But she had no idea when or how many more she should be ordering. And so she implemented Square. And the first thing she saw that first day when she looked on her dashboard was, yes, she actually did sell out of both chocolate croissants and she thought butter croissants. So chocolate croissants she sold out of around 10 a.m. So the first thing she did after implementing Square was to order more. So we brought her immediately new sales. And that's all about the start your business, run your business, but grow your business moment. But then she also discovered something funny about her butter croissants. She actually didn't sell out of them at all. In fact, there was usually a few left at the end of the day, but because her staff, being good San Franciscans and not wanting to throw anything away, they ate them. So she thought she was selling out of butter croissants, but she wasn't. So it sounds so small and so unimportant, and yet when you start pushing that sort of analysis across 4.5 million sellers, you really start to see how you're making a difference in their lives and in the businesses that they're growing. And that gets us at Square incredibly excited. So let me switch gears to the other side of the counter. So now I know you're all going to recognize this, because this is what buyers see. So I bet if you all pulled out your wallet, I always have this kind of mortifying moment where Jack will pull out his wallet, and he's got 1 card in it, and it's very beautiful and simple. And then I get out my wallet, which you'd almost need to weight lift to get that thing out of my bag, because I'm a mom, right? I have everything in there. I have numbers in case, the entire United States goes down, so I will know how to find my kids. I won't actually be able to use a device, but I'll have a telephone number for them on a piece of paper. But this is what wallets look like. right? Discovery is hard when you want to go find a business. It involves something like this, the yellow pages perhaps. It's also hard to keep loyalty going. So we see so many merchants using those paper punch cards. You see it up there? So we put that into a wallet for them. You want to know, when is a business open? Again, it can be a very long-form thing. And then ultimately the wallet itself, it's full of cash, it's full of credit cards. All of the things go together to make a very unsatisfying experience. So with that, we created the idea of Square Wallet. So again, also a free app that you bring down onto your device. And we think of the experience for the buyer as also a continuum. So the first thing you hit is discovery. So I can see, this is actually picking up all around us here in Las Vegas, all of the businesses that are up and running on the Square directory. So I could go to Starbucks, for example, one of our very close partners. I could go to Madhouse Coffee. It's a great Vegas coffee store, and I'll show you a picture of them in a minute. So discovery. It can surface intent. So over time, we think about, I'm hungry, I want that sandwich. Oh, I hadn't even thought about it. I'm going to do that through my wallet. But then it also gives you that magical payment moment, what we call pay with your name or pay with your face. And there's so much more here about how you grow your business. So we didn't just think it was cute to put people's faces on the register. We actually thought of it as organic loyalty. So when we first met Howard Schultz from Starbucks, we had a conversation that was really interesting about why they write the name on the cup. And it's not that Starbucks couldn't come up with some completely fascinating SKU management system. Instead, it was about a personal interaction, a one-to-one. So what local businesses have going for them is they really know their customers. Like you walk in and they know you. I have that in my local town. Ross meets me every Thursday morning when I do breakfast with my son. And he knows who I am, and he asks me about how the week has been, and he says something nice to my son about how's first grade going. And it's a magical moment. And so Ross's coffee is not that good. Please don't tell him. But I love the fact that he knows me. It's organic loyalty. And so back to Howard at Starbucks, he wanted to create that same thing, but on a global stage. And so just that repetition of the name is what Starbucks did. We are doing that with the face, so that you start to have that magical moment where the person on the other side of the register knows you. It's not about payments anymore. I mean, if you are talking to your customer about payments, something has gone wrong. You should be talking to your customer about what else they might want to buy from you, or when they might want to come back and visit. But if we're talking about payments, we are not helping our merchants start their business, run their business, and definitely not grow their business. So for us, it's a connection of both sides of that countertop. So let's talk about Square growth a little bit right now. So we started by seeing, okay, very mobile businesses, so cab drivers, hairdressers, and so on, hop on the Square register. In fact, the #1 item we still see is a haircut. But then we started to see Square evolving. So you see all that nasty stuff I just showed you. That's what sits on the countertops of local businesses, and it's what sits on the countertops of multi-location businesses. Those are those big Casio calculator things that maybe a CFO might love, but in reality, no one really loves. Because all you're doing is plunking in the $2.50 for a latte and the $1 for a chocolate chip cookie. You're getting $3.50, then you turn to another machine, you swipe a card, those machines don't speak. I have no way of knowing what my customer bought. I have no way of re-engaging with them. So we wanted to make all of that disappear. And as we start to move into more bricks and mortar, you're starting to see us come with a much more robust point-of-sale system. And with that, we said, okay, people are going to want to put that tablet, that point-of-sale, into something much more robust as well. So about 2-3 months ago, we launched Square Stand. Square Stand, as you can see here, is Square hardware end-to-end, right down to the ASIC chip that's inside it. We're definitely a company that, while we want simple, we also want perfection. Those two things are very hard to put together. But we built Square Stand. It has a much more robust track, and it really starts to speak to folks who are putting it on their countertop, putting it in their bricks and mortar business. And here's an example. I talked about Madhouse Coffee. So this is right here in Vegas. I'd absolutely highly recommend going to take a look at what they're doing. But you can see how much time they've spent crafting their countertop. They want to make it beautiful. They're trying to sell you things. They're trying to grow their business. And so we wanted the stand to both give them an absolutely rock-solid way to do that, but also fade a little bit more into the background, or at least be a little bit more in keeping with the aesthetic that they were trying to put together. So I've kind of walked you through the start, run, grow, and absolutely moving Square much more into that bricks and mortar situation. So let me talk about then something incredibly recent. So in the last month, we've launched something called Square Market. So again, visualize what a market means, right? It's lots of eclectic things put together, often highly curated just for you, and that's what Square Market is. So I'll give you another anecdote. So when Square Market launched that morning, I was incredibly excited to see our product out there because I knew it was starting to help local sellers find new avenues to market. So I hopped on, and I am a good shopper, and I found Son of a Sailor. I'm pointing at my necklace right now. So Son of a Sailor sells beautiful handcrafted jewelry in Austin, Texas. And I liked the necklace. And my daughter liked the necklace because she's also a good shopper like her mom. And so at around 6:30 in the morning, and my kids really do get up that early, we bought 2 necklaces. And I love it because it's all about how do we help you grow your business as a seller. Because we're taking you from a very local situation out onto a broad national stage. And we're bringing you new business, but in a very easy way. So think about what I showed you first with the register. So I've showed you what merchants are doing. They're dropping in their items. They're taking those cool photos to make it easy to use. They're putting in the SKU level data. They're putting in the pricing. And they're really thinking hard about it. And the link is that because they've already done that on the physical register in the offline world, we made it easy so that when they go to their dashboard with the swipe of a finger, I can immediately set my items free into Square Market. So that's now my online commerce store. I don't have to build a website. I don't have to manage a website. I'm actually part of the carefully curated Square Market, all with a flip of a finger. Of course, I can Chinese menu it, and I can actually say, okay, well, there are some things I'm selling that might not lend themselves so nicely to an online situation, maybe a cup of cappuccino. But this is also my favorite thing about things like Market, is that our sellers start to hack the system. And what I mean by that is they start to show us the way to innovate. You know, as an upstart tech company, we're always looking for that next bright idea. And so a couple of things we see, I just did a ride-along with support a few weeks ago. And interestingly, we see a lot of services being offered on the Market. We thought it would be a very kind of retail-centric type of offering. And yet, I watched as one gentleman was putting his massages on the Market. So he had the October Melt series. And you could buy the 9 to 10 slots or the 10 to 11. And amazingly, what he was doing in the background is when I would buy the 10 to 11 slot, clearly it wasn't available anymore. He can't do multiple massages. He is one person. He was going in on his dashboard and pulling it straight off the Market again, which is very laborious and just tells me that we need to move faster to get a scheduling piece of software in place. But it also really kind of broke open in my head, wow, like the Market is actually a true marketplace. So whether I have goods, whether I have services, and believe it or not, even things like cappuccinos, we see people buying them. And what customers are writing in the text box where you can say how I want it shipped to me, they're saying, I'll come pick it up at 10 a.m. And that goes back to the beauty of local, that a local store can actually almost hand curate things like, I'm going to do a pickup at 10 a.m., something that a big national footprint like Starbucks clearly can't handle. But that's the beauty of this huge $4.5 million base of merchants that you just see so much of starting businesses, running businesses, and growing businesses in action. So I've given you a little bit of the teaser about how fast we move. So Square's been around for a little bit over 4 years. So you saw the first piece of hardware into the phone. You saw the iPad app. You saw Square Wallet being born. You saw a lot more done on the web analytics side. We updated our reader back again in 2012. Stand announced in May, available in July. Square Market in June. And there's definitely more to be seen. So watch this space over the next few weeks, and I think you'll see us do another reinvention of how money is sent. And so finally, I want to end by just talking about certainly my favorite Square chart. So this might look like a work of art, but actually what it is it's a dashboard showing payments being taken at around noon on a Thursday. There's nothing special about this Thursday. It's not a holiday period. This is just a random Thursday about 6 weeks ago. The color of the dot is the merchant category that it belongs to. The size of the dot is the size of the payment. So why is this so special to me? I think it's because it shows that Square isn't just some fancy app for people who've got fancy phones and are really techie. It's really about businesses all over the United States being able to get started in a way they weren't before. So I won't make you go around the entire map, but if you look up in the Pacific Northwest, you'll see a great big pink circle. That is Spanish in Seattle, and they're taking a payment of about $12,000. And if you look over at Colorado, if you all know your map of the US well, there's a gray circle, and that's a pest solution, taking a payment of about $5,000. So you start to see that Square isn't just about coffee, and it isn't just about cab drivers. We love those businesses, but we're seeing just huge ubiquity across the United States. And so we wanted to take that message and start to take it global. So Canada, we went to Canada about a year ago. We're seeing a similar sort of embracing of the Square story, as you can see here. You also get to see how many people live along the border. That was a total eye-opener for me. And then finally, about 3 months ago, we went to Japan. Now, very different market for us, but I think it's proving that what we've done here can be taken to a global stage. Interestingly, we see it going into more bricks and mortar businesses first, so a little bit less than just the totally scrappy mobile entrepreneur, much more things like a hairdresser's or an art gallery. So we see our average ticket size a lot higher as well. And we're also effectively changing the world a little bit more. That's our vision, make commerce easy. In Japan, 88% of all consumer payments are done in cash, which is an amazing stat. And yet we already see on our register, because we take both cash and cards, like we allow you to run your whole business, but we see that already skewing down to sub 80%. So we are starting that revolution of folks who were in a cash-only society now being able to make use of things that we here in the United States just take for granted. So I'll leave you with our vision, make commerce easy. We are helping businesses, as I said, start their business, run their business, and grow their business. We understand that it's both sides of the counter, so it has to be both for sellers and for buyers. But we absolutely want to see our mission come to life here in the world, and we want to see commerce made easy. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Sarah.